Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. Welcome back to the 56th episode of the Since I Was Young podcast for all things heart of Midlothian. We do hope you are all good and well. Joining you, as always, is myself, Ewan Ramsey, and my co host, Alan Scrimger. Alan, how are you doing today, my man? You all good?
I am good, mate. I'm good. It's are we going to say it's third time lucky that we're trying to do this?
I, I've said that quite a few times myself as well, mate. But we're on the third time. We do apologize for our regular viewers. Like, of course, it all falls down to technology these days, as me and Alan are kind of getting on that stage where we're starting to become two old farts. We just generally had no idea what to actually do, so we said, fuck it. So we'll do it another night. But we're on the third time. We are recording on a Wednesday evening. Just now, we'll hopefully try to put it up for you guys tomorrow, being a Thursday evening. So hopefully you won't have to wait too long to see this episode. But yeah, so our schedule or our sort of itinerary for this episode. Obviously we're going to go through the highlights of the Riga game, where Hearts were officially the first Scottish team to win a group stage European football game. And that's me saying that I would be fully confident if we came up against Ajax or Real or like that. Oh, fucking sweep them aside. So we'll go through a bit of the game in Latvia just last week there. And of course, we will follow up with the game against Motherwell as well. 4 days, 2 games, 2 away wins, and 2 clean sheets. Fucking amazing, mate. Honestly, wonders never cease. And then, of course, as well, we're followed by my favourite football fucking event in the season, international break. Here we go. Another reason not to fucking support Scotland. But yeah, so that is going to be your podcast for this evening. So we do hope you enjoy it. But before we get started, as always, if you aren't subscribed to the Since I Was Young podcast via the YouTube page, please think about subscribing. Smash that like button as always, as it helps to get the video around. And if you want to get in contact with us via our socials and our email address, all is on screen and will always be in the description as always. So we do hope you enjoy the episode. So Alan, just to start things off as well, lovely training kit you have on there, mate. Fucking very stylish.
Very much. I had to mark the European, shall we say, deadlock being broken and winning a game in Europe. I thought I'd dust off the good stuff, and yeah, there we go. We've
Yeah.
arrived. We're winning the group. We're winning.
Oh,
We're winning the whole thing. We're winning the whole thing.
don't even, mate, like, absolutely could not agree with you
When,
more.
when's the final? Where's the final? I might
Oh, mate,
get some time off.
I've already had my bags packed for fucking weeks, mate. But yeah, I mean, that's probably as a good a place to start as any. So, of course, we came away with a 2-0 win against the Riga across in Latvia. So, yeah, I mean, I don't mind to start things off as well. So, I thought the starting side we put out, obviously, I think one of the biggest sort of talking points that you and me were talking about throughout the actual game was the decision to start Craig Halkett. Now, obviously, of course, it was amazing to actually was it to see him back on the pitch as well and in a Hearts jersey. You and me were actually having a bit of a debate through like ourselves where I was saying like I think it was probably worth the risk to at least see where he was at, or it was yourself that was saying it was probably a big or the gamble to actually take. And lo and behold, after 20 minutes, I'm pretty sure it was either a hamstring or a groinal like sort of injury that happened, but and it was pretty much kind of similar to like what actually happened beforehand. But in retrospect, Alan, I mean, obviously it was only for 20 minutes and he didn't have much time to make was it like such an impact. But do you feel as if it was worth kind of seeing where he was at in terms of where we are at, like in terms of the defensive sort of options we have?
I think so. It's funny, like my side of the argument was if he's not 100% fit, he shouldn't play.
Mm,
But I think there's probably an element of Robbie wanted him to play because he's our best defender, let's be
yeah.
honest. And if he's fit, he walks into the team every week. So there might have been an element of that as well. But yeah, I did think it was a gamble, but
Mm,
I understood why Robbie made it. Obviously, to go off injured after 20 minutes is less than ideal. Obviously, we know in hindsight now that it wasn't as bad an injury as it
yeah.
was first feared, and he was actually past fit to play against Motherwell, but he was rested, which is good. But
Mm,
yeah, like you say, it's just nice to have him back, and obviously Kingsley as well. It gives us a bit more stability again, I think.
mhm.
But yeah, like listen, I said it the other week when we were talking about Lewis Nielsen when he came on.
Oh,
He,
like a standout,
yeah,
standout in that match. Like
he was out. Yeah,
absolutely.
he was. He took a little bit of time. He had a few wee iffy
Yeah.
moments when he first came on, but he's young, and we have to
Yeah, of
remember
course.
that. But yeah, like he came in and just did a really, really good job. Riga, such a physical team. Like they
Mm,
were all the crosses that they were firing in. They've got big players. I think towards the end of the game, they were chucking their defenders up front or their
yeah.
midfielders up front, trying to get a goal because obviously they needed one. But yeah, we just coped really, really well with it. And I think similar to Motherwell, to be honest. We
Yeah.
gave away a few chances, and Gordon made a few brilliant saves. I mean, the one they did, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but they did a thing like the Conference League Twitter account. They did a thing where they basically posted like the saves of the round,
Mm,
and Gordon's save was from a free kick. When he sort of goes down low and tips it
yeah.
to the side, and then it comes back to him. That wasn't even his best save of the night. The best save was the one I think after 2 minutes or something when
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
Riga boy
because
hits it and
yeah,
he
and
diverts
then
it
it
onto the post or something.
post eye. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's mental. Like I was watching it, I didn't actually realize at the time that Gordon actually saved it. I
Yep.
thought, he's just hit the post, but oh, we owed Gordon a lot in that game. But yeah, I was really really pleased with the defensive efforts, and I think just like talking about what you said about the squad selection as well. I think for me there were two other big choices. He brought Grant back after
Hmm.
his suspension against Zurich, so he brought him back. I was pleased to see that, and Gino played as
Yeah.
well.
Again, like I mean, there was a lot of standards throughout that game, but Gino especially, I think I wouldn't say he was the best player on the night, but I think because his form is kind of not been consistent as much as Hearts fan would probably little like to be. That's the Gino I would love to see every single week. Like,
Yeah.
because he was getting in their faces. He was traveling at lightning speed down that the right hand side.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've talked about sometimes his decision making. One of the ones where I was almost kind of did he make the right choice? I think it was just at the coming to the end of the first half where he
Oh.
makes a brilliant run and he squares it to Shankland. Now I will give him the credit of being so unselfish. And to be fair, in hindsight, I mean, if it was me,
Mm-hmm.
legit,
Yeah.
I probably would have done the same thing because,
Yeah.
that's your number nine. You
Mm-hmm.
expect them to score, and yeah, like maybe the pass might have had a slight heavy touch on it, but at the same time, I mean, just from where he was at, if you're if you're going to shoot somewhere, you're probably going to try to go to the keeper's left, even
Yeah.
at the tiniest angle that he had. But
Mm-hmm.
again,
Yeah.
his kind of face said it all as well as just saying, "Did I make the right call there again?" Like, you know what I mean? It was just
Oh, I know.
unbelievable.
I know, and Shanklin just sort of. I don't think Shanklin saw it coming. I don't think he was expecting it.
Yeah.
He just sort of couldn't get his feet sorted out. But yeah, I mean, like you said about Gino, I was really really happy with him,
Mm.
and I've said it many times that he is one of the most frustrating players that I've ever watched in my life because, and I'm going to say it, and it's probably a record earliest time that I've said it in one of these. There's a player in there, but
Aye.
he doesn't show it often enough. He doesn't do it often enough, and it's consistency. And but then there's also the element of if he was consistent enough, would he be at Hearts? If he played like that every week, there's that kind of the argument at the other side of it.
Aye.
But yeah, he's somebody actually put on Twitter, and I think it was bang on. They called there was a couple of players actually said that Gino and Halliday are Marmite players. You either love them or you just can't be bothered with them.
Yep.
And I really liked that. I thought it was nailed on, to be honest. But yeah, I thought Gino was really really good.
Mhm.
As you said, I'll echo that. That's the Gino you want to see every week, to be honest. And you hope that you can, but it doesn't always happen.
Nah.
But yeah, look, he was really really good in the game. I thought he was brilliant. His work up and down the wing was fantastic.
Mm.
He was just a nuisance, and that's what he needs to be. So yeah, no, I was really really happy with him as well. I mentioned Halliday as well. I thought he was really good as well, putting a shift
Yeah.
as he does. Um, but yeah, again, I know you said that you don't think Gino was the best player in the park, but for me, it's probably a toss up between him and Cammy Devlin again.
Yeah, I mean Devlin especially felt like like I don't know if if by some like sort of was it the grace of God that he does watch this and he watched your episode like what 2 episodes ago and again
A couple of weeks ago.
come on mate we're gonna prove him fucking wrong and he's been on fire ever since so
Mate, I love him. I
mate,
love him. I said I love him. Yeah, he's certainly he's not proving me wrong. Like, let's be honest. I said it because I want him to be the best he can be. And again,
aye.
he's done it on a European stage again. He got called up to the Australian national side for the international break. Him
Mm-hmm.
and Atkinson. So that's a reward for Devlin in itself. It's his first call up to the senior
Mm.
squad, which is good. That's probably off the back of a couple of good European performances, to be honest. But
Of course, yeah.
yeah, it's that's the Devlin again. It's like I said about Gino. That's the Devlin I'd love to see every week. But
Yeah, but yeah.
he seems to play quite well when he's next to Grant. I don't know if they've got some sort of balance there, but the two of them, it's almost like they cover for each other, and I quite
Yeah.
like that. But
So yeah.
yeah,
I mean, do you kind I mean I know we'll probably talk about it a wee bit more in a bit, but just like from um like the Motherwell game as well, because obviously it was both Devlin and Keo who like sort of like made his debut. I mean, what did you think of that sort of partnership? Because they're all I wouldn't say they're ultimately the same player. I mean, I would almost kind of replicate Keo to a kind of a Haring sort of figure. But I mean, did you think that put sort of any sort of like sort of a difference to his game? Because I think in general that I mean, Devlin's kind of throughout the last few weeks has been kind of like progressing more and more up the pitch where like as for like the start of the season and for last year as well like he wasn't really kind of doing that as much where like I know that you and me talked about so much like between the partnership of him and Benny as well they weren't kind of trying to push themselves up the pitch so like I mean do you think that's something that he's kind of tried to add to his game for throughout this year?
I think it seems that way. It
Yeah.
certainly seems that way. I mean, we've kind of glossed over the events of the Riga game, but he was obviously that, like what we're talking about, him pushing forward was brilliant in the last goal.
Mm.
Near enough the last minute of the game, and he's bombing up the pitch with the ball at his feet. He's actually quite tidy with the ball at his feet, to be fair. He can't shoot to save his life, but
Absolutely not. No.
but I mean, he's very very good at carrying the ball forward. And yeah, like you said, it was evident in the Motherwell game as well. But I think he's kind of because, like you say, we're used to the Benny and Devlin partnership of the two of them being like, covering every blade of glass, every blade of grass. God, that
There
was a
you
tongue
go.
twister. That took a minute to get that out there. But yeah, we're used to that partnership being like the all action midfielders that win the ball back, that give it to the creative ones. But I don't know what it is. I think, and a lot of people that are not a big fan of Liam Boyce have obviously said, oh, there's a space there now for people to go into. And maybe Devlin is making the most of that and saying, well, nobody's standing there, so I'll just drive into that space. We've seen a few players do it.
Aye.
Like Grant, he's doing it as well. And Keogh did it against Motherwell. Despite being a bit more kind of defensive minded, I think Robbie said something along the lines of we played him a wee bit further forward than he likes to be, or further forward than he
Mm.
normally is. That was what he said about Motherwell. But Yeah, look, it's as I say, Devlin was fantastic against Riga. Was his work rate was fantastic. That was the thing that impressed me the most
Mm.
across the team, to be honest, was the work rate of all of them. And I think having options in the midfield helps that, because I mean, I'd still say Benny is our best midfielder in terms of complete game.
Yeah, yeah,
I think I don't think there are many flaws in his game and what he brings to it. You know,
not
Whereas
particularly.
I think some of the other ones do. Like we saw um, Haring have his moment in Europe already this season where he flopped and gave the ball away. But yeah, it's every midfielder we have has flaws, but I would say Devlin is certainly looking better than he was 6 months ago, and that's a bonus.
Absolutely, mate. I mean, does it give you like a tiny bit of hope in terms of when our next European tie when we host Fiorentina? I mean, in my sort of view, I would almost view that as like as the glamour tide, like sort of even though they were the pot two team, but
Mm-hmm.
um, like of course for such an iconic team was it like in my view.
Yeah.
Do you? I mean, we did say the same. Was it about the Zurich game and the was it and the Istanbul game and look where that got us. I mean, do you think that there might be like a glimmer of hope in terms of like we've we've got 3 points on the board now. There's 4 games left.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think that we can? I don't know, like because we obviously had the chat last week where I was saying like let's just go out and just kind of like try to have a laugh, just enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But now that we've actually got 3 points on the board now, I'm like, let's get fucking in it. And like, what I mean? Fuck the league. But like, I mean, yeah, like, I mean, do you think that there's maybe room to possibly like make something of it?
I
Possibly.
think I think possibly. I'm not going to disagree. I think it's something I was going to say later on. I think when you're in that position, you we're second in the group
Hmm.
because Istanbul beat Fiorentina in the second game. So, but it will really depend on the game, like you say, at Tynecastle against Fiorentina, because obviously then we'll be 3 games in, we'll know where we are. We've got a chance. We've got a chance, and I think that's all you can ask. Because if we'd
Hmm.
lost against Riga, which would have been a disaster,
Yeah.
um, you're sitting with 0 points after 2 games. You're thinking, are we going to get anything?
Aye.
But no, there is a glimmer of hope. But I hope that that Tynecastle rather is rocking for the game because
Of course it will
it'll
be.
need to be. It's an evening game again. It's not 5 o'clock kickoff as far as I know, so that's helpful. But yeah, look, it gives us a chance, and that's all you can ask. Like it's a good thing. It's a good thing to go. I said when we were speaking about the group before, traveling over to Latvia, being a bit of the unknown and not really being too sure of what we were going to.
Hmm.
But I thought the players did really well. And that was the most impressive thing. Well, the most impressive thing on the night was the Shankland penalty. I
Oh,
absolutely
sublime. Like no, like I will agree with what what the commentator said. No keeper in the world was saving that.
no,
No keeper
no.
in the world.
That's absolute top corner. It couldn't get any more top corner if he tried
Mm,
it. And Shankland is giving off a very confident vibe at the moment, and
yeah,
I'm very much here for that.
yeah, and I will continue to eat my words like for as we go out through the season. Like he's been brought in to do what we've needed, like dare I say it, since the Robo, is to score goals and to be that prominent. Was it number 9 as such as well? Because like I mean, the only kind of one that kind of sticks out, you can maybe argue, is maybe Lafferty,
Yeah.
Debris, maybe like what I mean. But like
Mhm.
again, it was such a long time ago, and it's just refreshing and nice to see a player Like, I mean, what you said that's now what 12 games and 6 goals? Is that right? Or
I think so. Let me have a little look, see if I can find out quickly on the fly.
aye, but like I
Uh,
said, like I mean, if that is the case, like a goal every 2 games, like
he's flying. He's
yeah,
absolutely flying, and you know it's impressive. It's
of
impressive. He's like you say, and we've kind of said it a few times that the Liam Boyce absence is a big thing.
course, so yeah,
But we said it last week as well that we're trying to find ways to play without him, and certainly the last 2 games have shown that we can. You know, okay, we owe a lot to the defense and we owe a lot to Craig Gordon for keeping 2 clean sheets, but we're creating chances. You know, we created a lot of chances against Riga. We took, a few of them and did pretty well. Okay, one of them was a penalty, but still counts.
of course.
And it's. I don't think that you can underestimate the role of Alan Forrest in it as well. I
Oh,
think
that's not even a player we mentioned yet. Jesus fuck.
no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And but he didn't even start against Riga. Came
I
on
know.
and did really well. I thought just a quick one as well before I keep talking about Forest that I thought Robbie got his subs bang on
Hmm.
against Riga. I thought he got him. I thought he got his subs bang on against Motherwell as well. To be honest, but yeah, look, it's Alan Forrest is the winger that. I mean, he's just a better James Forrest, isn't he? He's just the better Forrest, and he's got a neck as well. So what more do you want? He's out. He's outstanding. He is. He's outstanding. I
He's a
actually
better
had.
Forest because he has a neck. I love
Oh, he's the
it.
better Forest. He is. He's the better looking Forest. He's the better playing Forest as well. And he doesn't run like he's got a stick shoved up his arse. But anyway, um,
You know.
no. Listen, I said about Alan Forrest that when we signed him that I actually really liked him at Livingston. He was one of
Yeah.
those players. I don't know if you have it, but like you see other players in other teams and you think they would do
Oh
well at
yeah.
Hearts. They would do well.
Mate, 100%, hundred
Yeah.
percent.
And Alan Forrest has always been one of those players for me. Like
Mm.
when I've seen him play at Livingston, I'm like, he could do a job. He could do a job. And then we signed him, and I'm like, right, let's see if I'm right. Let's see if it's actually going to work.
Is there a player in there? Absolutely. I
There
mean,
is indeed.
there is indeed, mate. Oh no, no, honestly, because I said, I mean, obviously, like you can't take much from like a priest, Peyton friendly, but like when we went to watch him against the mighty was a Ronnie Rig Rose. Like I mean, I wasn't overly impressed, and even in the first few games of the season, I wasn't overly sort of because like I was expecting like this massive impact from him, but I think as each game has gone by, he's got a tiny bit better, then a tiny bit better, then a tiny bit better, and then I think it kind of exploded during the second leg of the Zurich game
Mhm.
because I generally thought him down that the right hand side was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, so like I think hopefully there is much more to come from him. So before we kind of wrap up on the European sort of talk, so in my mind, just kind of quickly, I think so. Obviously, the next game is at home, as we mentioned. It's Fiorentina. There's a possible chance that maybe like a point. I'll let you put it out there, and
Hmm.
I'm going to say that the next home game will be Riga. Now you'd automatically expect to get 3 points from that. Like considering how we played across there, because generally I think going both to Istanbul and to Fiorentina, like I love our club and I love our squad, but by fuck, we've no got a fucking dog's chance in hell, like to possibly scrim something there. So you're potentially possibly looking at 4 points because I think Istanbul will probably top that group. So I guess it's amongst the other teams to kind of fight it out amongst themselves. So like again, like there is always a chance there, and like what I mean, like I said, if we're to take something from the last 2 home games, then again,
Yeah.
who knows?
No, absolutely. I would back that. I think 7 points could be enough. Could be to scrape second place.
Possibly.
That's providing Istanbul win every game, which they
Aye,
look like they could well
aye,
do. to be honest.
For sure.
But yeah, like we said before, it's an adventure. It's part of the journey. It's part of the experience. If we manage to get out the group, that would be fairy tale stuff. But if we
Uh,
don't, we've made a scrap of it. We at least won a game. That's a bonus.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, yeah, so as we said at the start as well, we then travelled across to Motherwell on the Sunday, where I'll be honest, Alan, I genuinely didn't think we would pick up a result. I don't know why I thought that, but there was just, I mean, because Motherwell, I think, naturally are a top six side in my view. And I think, like, with the win that we got, and then to come back to another away game, I don't know what it was. I thought that might be a wee bit too much, but mate, absolutely fucking bossed it. Like especially in the second half, because I thought the first half, I thought it was very kind of end to end, quite sloppy at times. I thought both teams were very easy to get at. I thought a lot of the passing from both sides were sloppy a bit as
Mhm.
well. And like, I mean, he would probably agree, like as well. But like, that's probably the easiest goal that Shankly will ever fucking score. Like, literally, like he didn't
Mhm.
actually for fucking was it like properly celebrate. It was just like yeah, it's fucking goal. But I mean, it was a bit of a scrappy first half though. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo you when you say about going away from home after a European game is it gave me a bit of the fear, to be honest.
Mm,
And historically, we don't do well at Fir Park.
no.
Haven't won in the league there since 2018. Stephen Hamill does have them actually playing quite well. I think they've only lost one of his 5 games in charge before playing us, of course. Yeah, it had all the kind of ingredients to be one of those games that we just weren't going to get anything.
Nah.
But yeah, I was like you. It was a bit scrappy to start with. It was end to end, but I think that was the nature of the teams. As I say, Stevie Hamill has his team playing quite attacking football because that's what he wants to do. It's entertaining, I suppose. And Robbie has his moments where he wants us to do that as well. So it made for quite an open game. I still have no idea how Motherwell didn't manage to score at least one. Probably just because we've got Scotland's number one in the net, to be honest.
True, but
But yeah, it was like I say that the goal that Shanklin got, it was the perfect kind of goal though. It was just like
yeah.
Motherwell had a load of chances, and then we get that, and there's a bit of luck involved
Aye.
because it just kind of falls back to him. But yeah, I was actually really impressed with Shankland against Motherwell. I think it's probably been one of his best performances, to be honest. Um, but yeah, as I say, it was one of those we had, and Robbie said it after the game. We rode our luck for large parts of it, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to, sometimes you have to. And in these games, especially as I say, after a European night, we're going to have games like that, So especially in October because our fixtures are horrendous. Um, but yeah, I was impressed with Motherwell to be honest with you. But I
Yeah.
think we
No,
did.
no,
I
for
think
sure.
we did really well. I think in terms of squad selection for us, I was a bit disappointed that Gino didn't start. I thought his performance against Riga might have got him a start, but Forrest came in. Lewis Nielsen came in for Halkett, obviously, and as we mentioned earlier, Keogh got his debut
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the park. We saw Snodgrass off the bench late on as well for his debut, and he looked all right.
Aye, just fight
Um,
him.
yeah, but no, it was a scrappy game. Was it a 3-0 game? I don't know, but
I'll take
you
it.
know, yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and particularly the way that we scored the goals was what impressed me the most as well.
Oh yes, now that you mentioned, let's talk about that Kingsley fucking pass. Like, oh mate, like
Ridiculous.
butter on a knife, smooth as fuck. Like again,
Oh,
that's the kind of pass you see, like Kai making, like because like he tends to have this instinct to see a
mhm.
pass before it's actually going to happen, and where he saw that, and it was perfect. Like
Oh,
the
it
pass
was.
was perfect. Like you know what I mean. And
It was
again, it
absolutely.
was like I mean, in terms of the whole the play itself and the build up to the goal as well. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
just pristine, pristine, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, we moved the ball about really well. And even I mean, that was the third goal, but the second goal was Forest.
Yeah,
Um, and well, it was that in itself was a good goal as well.
yeah,
Obviously Forest linked up down the wing, fed it into Shankland, who held it up, which is something that haven't really seen him do a lot of. But I
no,
was really, like I say, I think it was Shankland's best performance for us in a while. I think he did. There was elements of like when he was holding that ball for the Forest second goal, that looked like something Boyce would have done.
yeah,
Sort of backing into the defender, keeping the ball, and then laying it off to Forest. And the finish from Forest was fantastic as well.
slick.
Side foot, put it past the keeper. But yeah, like I think the Shankland and Forest connection seems to be quite strong and something that we can build off of. But yeah, the third goal was my favourite of the day.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Kingsley wipes out four people with one pass. It's just ridiculous. And this
mate.
man can't get in the Scotland squad. I don't
Dude,
I don't
dude,
understand. I
don't
don't
even,
understand.
don't even. I mean, the fact that because he's kind of been put into that kind of left side central role now,
Mm-hmm.
it shows that he can be like a very versatile defender as well. And I'm sure that
Yeah,
even, I mean, mate, like he could probably do a job on the left the wing as well. Like, Christ,
probably.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, he probably
So
could.
in terms of his versatility, like, I mean, like, because at first I thought, well, when they did move him into that sort of more central role, I thought, I'm not too sure, but it's probably because we saw him play so much at that left back role, and he did a brilliant job. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
would that kind of take away something from it? But like, of course, like it's actually made this game so much better. Again,
Yeah.
to doing to echo what John Stutter did. He's driving up that park. I mean, to
Mm-hmm.
mention that as well. Like, I mean, even both for the Riga and the well game. Like was it Nielsen as well? Like, I mean, I saw him do that a few times. I thought, mate, just grow your confidence, mate. Honestly, like
Mm-hmm.
it's so nice to see, and especially at a young age as well. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's so nice to see.
Definitely, definitely. I think Robbie made a good point. I don't know if it was last week or whenever, but he said something along the lines of the form recently and the fact we're conceding goals isn't good, but it's because we've had so many different defensive combinations and
Aye,
we've had injuries. And that is obvious. Like that makes sense.
yeah,
We've not had a settled partnership for a long time when we're playing two, and then when we play three, we right now we don't have enough fit centre backs to play three
no,
um, at the back. So, but no, I think Lewis Nielsen and Stephen Kingsley, they both have, like you say, they have this amazing ability on the ball to do that. And it lets you build and go forward with it from the back, which is amazing.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it's it's very, very early for Lewis Nielsen. Very
Of
early.
course it
He's
is. I
only
know.
90, he's 19, I think, 19, 20-year old, something like that. It is very, very early, but he looks very, very promising. And if he's learning off people like Kingsley, like Halkett, even Peter Haring, players like that have the experience, that's massive. That is
Yeah.
massive. And I saw an interview with him where he was talking, and he said something along the lines of, "I'd love to go down and play in the English Premier League at some point." Obviously, focusing on the here and now, talking about Hearts and
Aye.
talking about doing as well as he can with us. But there's nothing wrong with having that ambition to say, "I want to get to that level." And he's 19 years old and he looks
Mate,
solid. He
absolutely.
looks solid. There are a few little things he still does that I'm a bit like, not sure.
Aye,
But
of course, but
any young 19-year-old defender would. But no, I think, as I say, the fact that we've had two clean sheets in a week is great. And Craig Gordon has a big part to play in that, but the players in front of him do as well.
yeah, absolutely could not agree more. I mean, just kind of looking ahead. So obviously, of course, we have the international break, so it'll be an absolute hoot this the weekend. I'm right in saying that our next home league game is a 12:30 kickoff against former champions Rangers. I'm right in saying, yeah. So obviously we won't do like too much of a preview on it, but just given the like because obviously Rangers form at the moment, I wouldn't say it's kind of up and down, but it's not kind of really consistent in comparison to like like they're hammering against Celtic, and obviously they're the Magic in Europe is starting to kind of aware the fin now. So, I mean, before we go on that, I mean, uh, it's interesting that you said as well. It's just that, like we said a lot throughout last year that, like when we went on quite a run of games and the wins, and then when an international break came round, it was almost like the perfect time for it to come round.
Mm-hmm.
However, this time, like I mean, because we've obviously not had the best form throughout the last month, and then we've just started to gain a bit of kind of like a confidence there, a tiny bit of traction. It's almost came at the wrong point. But in saying that as well, I mean, again, do you think that we could possibly get something out of the Rangers game as such?
I don't really know. I'd like to think.
Yeah, I
I'd
know.
like to
Like, it's a
think
bit of
yes.
possibly
Yeah,
yes or no.
I'd like to think yes. I think it's one of those. I don't think Rangers are anywhere near what they were last year.
Absolutely
Um,
not. No.
at the start of last year, anyway, when they were blowing teams away, they had a summer transfer window that wasn't good enough, in my
No.
opinion, and the opinion of many Rangers fans that I've spoken to. Um, they're still very reliant on Alan McGregor, who's in his 40s and not as good as he was, but he's still a very good goalkeeper. But I think they could have done with maybe a better, or maybe not better, maybe a younger number one would have been helpful.
Mm,
Um, they got 20 odd million for that Bassi, the defender who
mm.
went to Ajax, funnily enough. But they didn't really invest it. The striker they've got, the big guy up front, is it Kolak? I think his name is.
Yes, that's
It's
the one.
it's just escaped me, but he looks good. He looks good. So that's a threat. But I think, and it's funny that I said it last season, at the start of last season when we played Celtic, when Postecoglou, I think it was his first game. Remember, played
Yeah.
Celtic at Tiny and we beat them. And there's parallels of that for
Yeah,
me.
I get
I
you. I get
think
you.
Postecoglou didn't really have the team that he wanted. I mean, the team he's got now, let's say that much, when we played them at Tynecastle last year. And then obviously, he brought all these players in and they're unbelievable now. Rangers to me just look like a team right now that don't really know what they want to do.
Yeah,
Um,
totally agree.
and a lot of that kind of goes around Morelos, whether he's fit or playing or not fit, or there was a whole fallout with Van Bronckhorst and all that stuff. But yeah, but then saying that, like the minute that you start thinking maybe we could get something, maybe we could get something, we know what we're like.
Yeah,
it,
why? No, no,
it
for sure.
it it depends on what Hearts team turning up on the day. Let's be
Mm.
honest. But no, just in terms of talking about what you were saying about traction coming to a halt from the international break, it is the worst possible time to have an international break. We've kept 2 clean sheets in a week. We've won 2 games. We're scoring goals, and then you're like, right, okay, let's stop for 10 days and have an international break.
No, really.
But it's at the same time, and we'll probably maybe talk about this in the next episode or whatever we choose to do during the international break. It's a We're in a good position. We're in a
Oh
good
yeah,
position. We're still third in the table because the win against Motherwell took us to third, back to third. I think St Mirren were briefly third, and I think Hibs were briefly up there as well. So it's nice to get back above them and get back into third. So we're third in the league, which is where you want to be, considering all the injuries that we've had and the number of
yeah,
fixtures that we've played so far. Being third with a very, very thin squad, which is what it has been, that's the minimum. We want to finish third this season. So I'm sure Robbie and Joe Savage are probably sitting in Tiny saying, right, that's the first kind of checkpoint
yeah,
reached. We've got to the first international break. We're third in the table. We're second in our Conference League group. We're still in with a shout of getting out of the group, which is
yeah.
great. So it's it's a bad time to have an international break, but it's also quite a good time because of where we are, and we might be able to get some players back fit. I would imagine Halkett will be back for the Rangers game. Atkinson came back and played, came off the bench against Motherwell, so he's back. Kai Rolls is still out. Benny's still out, obviously, but yeah, in terms of Rangers, I don't know. I do not know, but why not? Why not? Their defense is shaky. Why not? Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, that's literally what I was about to say as well. Just as soon as you mentioned Halkett, that's going to be a welcome return for our snake John Suttery. That's
Oh,
going to.
he'll be sitting in the stands, mate. He's barely kicked a ball for them. He's barely kicked a ball for them. Like we knew how injury prone he was, and that's it's the tragedy of John Suter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if he was fully fit, he'd probably be playing in England right now.
Aye.
But there's Rangers fans saying, "Oh, even on a free transfer, he's a waste of money because he's not kicked the ball for them." And you're like,
Mm.
"We tried to tell you that the boy's made
Aye.
of glass, but you wanted him." You know,
Fair enough.
like,
There you go.
get on with it. Just crack on.
Exactly. Well, on that note, I mean, I'm not going to ask you for a prediction just now because we will probably jinx that fucker. We'll I think we can call it a day there. But again, guys, we would love to hear your opinions on whether or not you think we have a chance to get out of the group stage in the Conference League. What you thought of the performances away to Motherwell, and if you possibly think we can get something out of the Rangers game, which is our next home league tie. So we'd love to hear all your feedback and your comments. But on that note, that brings us to the end of the 56th episode of the Since I Was Young podcast for all things Heart of Midlothian. So, as always, guys, thank you very much for joining us as always. And once again, if you aren't subscribed, please think about subscribing. And if you want to get in contact with us via our socials as well or our email, you're more than welcome to Since I Was Young 1874 at gmail.com. Bye, fuck, I still actually mind that, Alan. So, yes, from myself and Alan, we do hope you have a lovely week and a fantastic weekend watching Scotland, and we will see you in the next one. You all take care. Bye for now.